So how's preseason different knowing that you're in this seat permanently, not just on a nine-game window?
Oh, it's the same. It feels, or I should say it this way, it felt the same last year when I was in this position. So it just feels like normal every year, the feeling that I've always had in the years that I've been a head coach. But it's been great. Our guys are really fun. This is a fun group. They're working their tail off. I wish we had more of them. Wish we had more, but that's okay. We have 9 eligible scholarship players, and that means our margin for error with injuries and illness, of course, is it's not very big. But at the same time, I love the group and really having a good time so far.
Now, that's 9 is all you have. What was 11 last year?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't do the math from last year. I just know we have 9 scholarship players eligible this year, and we have one young man sitting out, Jimmy Witt, who will be eligible next year. So there's 10 scholarship players practicing, and we have two walk-ons, so we have 12 in practice.
What would be the biggest difference, do you think, just in terms of style of play?
I don't know. It's probably a little bit too early to say for sure. I do know this. One of Coach Brown's and my biggest difference is how we value three-point shooting, for sure. We used to joke about it a lot, and not argue about it, but just joke about it a lot. So I value it a lot more than he does. But I do agree with him that there's nothing worse than a bad three-point shot. But at the same time, we have a very good shooting team. We have a lot of guys that can make and should take a good number of threes, which stretches the floor. So I think from that standpoint, I think it might, if somebody's watching close, it might be different. But I don't think in a lot of ways there'd be many differences, because philosophically, Coach and I saw things a lot the same. And when I took over last year, it was just, it's pretty similar in the way we see things.
And then without your point guard that you've had
Yeah, well,
for
that's
so long.
yeah. I'm waking up in the middle of the night every now and then. Nick was an incredible security blanket for me and for us. For me, longer for the last 5 years. He was just a guy that, even when things weren't going well, he somehow managed to make them go well at the end of a game. The best I've ever seen in all the years I've coached. So we're going to miss him dearly. Certainly the other 2 seniors, Jordan was fantastic. We don't have anyone necessarily that equates to that. Of course, Marcus had a good career here as well. And, those are big losses, huge losses. But you lose an All-American, a 2-year All-American point guard. That's huge. At the same time, we've got a lot of good pieces. I think we're going to have somewhat point guard by committee, which is just a little bit, that's another way you can play. There's a lot of ways to skin the cat, and hopefully 1 or 2 will really emerge as the point guard, but if not, then we'll just have to play a little more equal opportunity type basketball when it comes to that. So that may take some time, and we'll have to find our way, with exactly how we're going to be at our best, because we're still so early. I think we're 8 days or so into real practice, and there's a lot of things we still need to learn.
I mean, right now, who would be your top guy that you would put in that spot?
Well, Shake, as of right now, Shake played some point last year. He played point in high school. He's a big point guard. He's all of 6'6", but he's very talented. We all know that. He's got a great basketball IQ. So he's definitely someone in that position. Definitely Tom Wilson. Benny Malagu can play the point as well. I'm discovering he's what I would call a combo guard that can go back and forth. And Deshaun McDowell is also another guy. So there's, to me, we have 4 guys that can play the position, and we'll see if one really emerges as that guy, or if we are just going to play a little more of whoever has it brings it. And I have been, in situations like that before, so I've seen it done both ways, and we'll just have to adjust to that.
You mentioned the three-pointers. Almost 49% of last year's threes are gone. Obviously, a lot of that was with Nick. Do you see one or two guys emerging as sort of your go-to guys if you need one at the end of a half, end of a game, or do you really want to have multiple options at all times?
Well, I think over the course of a game, what I love is when you have a lot of good shooters on the floor because, it's hard for the other team to have a good defender at every position. I think it's sometimes easier when you just have one guy that everybody's focusing on defensively. I think we're going to be able to really spread people around and maybe find the hot hand or find the weak link on the other team. So I love that advantage. But I do think at the end of games, and of course we don't know that now, usually you find out there's one or two guys that really want the ball in their hand late in the game, and I think that's a lot different. But if you're talking about the first 38 minutes, I tell you, I think we've got a number of guys that could have a big night on a given night, could have a big night, and I love those kind of teams. And over time, if you look at the statistics, you'll see a lot of double-figure scores, and that's what I hope this team becomes, is a whole bunch of guys that are scoring in double figures and sharing the ball.
Last year's team, in a lot of ways, reflected the personality of Nick and Jordan and Marcus. Now Ben and Sterling are your seniors. What kind of leaders are they, and what aspects of their personalities do you expect to see reflected in your team?
I hope we reflect a lot of those two guys as well, because I think they're both tremendous winners and tremendous competitors, and both have a very high basketball IQ. So those three things combined, I hope that would be great. If that's who our team is, I would take that every day. I think they'll be very good leaders for us.
Coach, what would you say the freshmen kind of how they've been handling the start of practice and just being around everyone else?
Doing very, very well. Maybe a little bit more advanced than sometimes. There's a lot of years I've coached and freshmen come in. I think these guys are maybe a touch ahead of where, if you say a norm. Certainly still a big adjustment, and it's hard. It's very difficult for freshmen to come in and be consistent day after day at this level. And one of the biggest reasons for that is when you play college basketball for the first time, you're playing against defense you've never felt before. You've never felt in a high school setting or all-star settings or pickup settings. And once you get into a college practice, particularly October, November, and the defense is up about 6 levels, it's difficult to play well every day. The speed of the game, the quickness, the length, those kind of things. So there's always an adjustment on top of all the responsibilities that the coach is throwing. So their head is usually spinning, the game's going a little bit fast. They don't usually settle into a comfort zone for X number of weeks. Some get it faster than others, but our guys have done very well, and they need to, because look at our numbers. We're gonna have to be counting on them, and they're going to be playing, and they're going to play a significant role. So the quicker they can get consistent and comfortable, the better for us.
You mentioned Ben Meligu, who sat out last year. Where's his conditioning, and what are some of the different roles that you see him filling for you?
I see him having a big role, and I'm so excited about him. Appears to be totally healthy. I'm knocking on wood when I say that. He's been tremendous, and he's very versatile. He's an outstanding shooter. As I said earlier, he's a good, I call him a combo guard. I love combo guards, and what that means to me is you can dribble and you can shoot and you can pass, which that's a player. That's what a player is, and he's a player. He can defend. He's strong. He's tough. I think he's gonna surprise people, because there may be some people have forgotten about him because of the injury and having to sit out when he transferred. But he's an important part of this team.
And then to pick up for Jordan, missing him, who picks up that slack? Like Mitty
Everyone, yeah. The shimmy, I think, a guy maybe as hard a worker as anybody I've been around in terms of off the court, extra time. It's really amazing. Shimmy has been incredible. If you want to set your watch, set it by coming to watch him work out either at 8 in the morning or 10 at night or whatever. There's a lot of different times you can set that watch by him. He's a tremendous athlete, very, very skilled, very talented. I think he'll be a big surprise as well, just because he's kind of, maybe to the public a little bit forgotten. He's transferred, he's been sitting out for a long time. But on the front line, Ben Morris to me is a great player. Ben Moore is a great player. He's a senior. I hope he has the kind of year that he deserves. And then Harry Froling is a freshman, but I think from a skill level, he's well beyond what normally you would find in a freshman. So I think he's going to be a big piece to the puzzle and be very important. And I hope that he can progress quickly.
You mentioned Shemi, and obviously he's got skill and mobility on the perimeter, but he's also a big, strong guy. How many different ways do you plan to use him?
As many as we can possibly think of, because he really. And I'll tell you what I'm so excited. I'm excited about a lot of things and a lot of our guys. But in terms of Shemi directly, he's one of those guys. He's just going to be a tough matchup for anyone, because he's developed since he got here a post game. If you look at him, you'd think he'd be a great post player. When he came here, he was completely uncomfortable with his back to the basket, which I could relate to, because when I played, I just felt like I was on the moon whenever I tried to post somebody up, and that's the way he felt. But now he's gotten really comfortable with that, so he can utilize one of the great physiques in college basketball. But he's a great shooter, and he also can put the ball on the floor and drive it. His passing is so much better than I've ever seen it. So right now he's playing at a very, very high level. Another guy we haven't talked about is Jere Foster, who I think is, you say, well, who's going to be a surprise? Maybe I could say everybody, I hope, but Jere is one of those guys that's really, really good at everything. I mean, he's good across the board. You have a box, you can pretty much check it with him. And I know he'll be, from what I've seen, he'll be a hard guy to take out of the game. The guys that have all those boxes, you just get a trust in them, and they're winners, and they're hard to substitute for. I think Jere is certainly one of those guys.
In your conversations with players over the summer and in the beginning of practice, how much do you talk about the fact that this year the NCAA tournament is at least an option, and what kind of difference have you seen in their response and their approach?
Well, we've talked about it a little bit. We'll talk about it more as the season gets closer. Right now, we're just kind of focusing on the building blocks of being a good team, and not trying to get too far ahead of ourselves. Unselfishness, how hard we play, how much we care about one another, all those kind of things, those cultures. That's what we're talking about the most. But I can feel that they know the chains are off, and we will certainly talk about it a lot more. Because as the season approaches, each game is an NCAA game. The way it's set up right now, you almost have to approach every single game, because if you lose certain ones, they can really hurt you come selection time. They put all the pressure on you to win your tournament. So we'll have a lot of those discussions. But I have a feeling with all our returning guys that have been around here, it won't take very much. They're pretty hungry. They've been through a lot, and I think that we can use that as fuel.
Coach, you've recently gotten a couple commitments from some 2017 recruits. What does it mean to still be pulling in quality, good players to this program after just kind of the changeover?
I'm really, really excited. We've had 4 commitments, and I'm really excited about this class. Not only their talent, but their character and their upside potential. I think it'll be a great base for us moving forward. I said when I came here, and I've said it while I've been here, and now I'm saying it as the head coach here, this is an incredible place. I mean, Dallas is an incredible city, and SMU is an amazing school, and now we have a program that's been playing top 25 basketball. So from a belief in what we sell, our staff, what we believe in, we believe this is one of the great places that you could come play. And And this class to us has shown that that is true. We beat some very good people, very good programs on some of these young men, and it's exciting. I mean, I just think we have our future is really, really bright.
In building a program, obviously winning is the most important thing in attracting people. How much does that help 23, 25 win seasons for you guys?
It's
Has
helped.
It really just built?
Oh, absolutely, yes. And it's hard. I'm sure, I've been fortunate, been in a lot of great programs, but I can imagine that if you're losing year after year, it gets pretty tough. I know when a new coach takes over a program that's losing, of course, you're always selling the future and the dream, but after a certain amount of time, that sell is a little bit tougher to make, and then you're selling on the reality of what's taken place. You always can sell your school and your people and your the things, but there's nothing like winning. Nothing like winning to help in every single thing across the board, including recruiting.
What changes are there either in the way you run practice, the way you approach recruiting, just day-to-day routine between you and when Coach Brown was here?
That's a hard one for me to say. I mean, I'm just going to do things, you got to be yourself and you got to be true to your personality. And so I guess I would just say I'm just trying to do it the best way I've always known how, and he did it the best way he knew how, and certainly, hopefully there was, some things that he liked about what I thought we should do, and there were certainly things that I loved about what he wanted to do, and but I don't know, it's a hard one. That would be a better one to ask somebody else, honestly. I'm just, every day sitting there planning practice and every day planning recruiting, and we're on the move, and so there's no grand scheme of how it is compared to how it was. It's we're just trying to get through today as best we can.
Coach, how much do you expect to lean on freshmen for minutes this year?
It's a good question. Because of our numbers, my answer would probably be a whole bunch. A whole bunch. When you only got 9 guys, you start doing the math. There's going to be a lot of freshmen out there, and that's why it's so important that they get this pretty quickly. But I'm impressed with them, and I'm optimistic that they can do that.
Coach, how good can Shake be this year?
Hopefully great. Shake's a talented guy. He had a tremendous freshman year. To me, he didn't look like a freshman. When you talk about freshman minutes, he didn't look like a freshman. He quickly looked like an upperclassman. To me, that's when you're an elite freshman, when you don't look like one. Nobody can tell after a while that this is your first year out there. He's a tremendous player. He's going to be so important to us. Going to be asked to do a lot of things. We talked about the point guard position. It's the toughest position to play. I don't care what it is. And there's not many 6'6" point guards out there, so it's a big ask on our part. But I believe in him, and I believe he'll be up for the challenge. And I hope that we have other freshmen that don't look like freshmen soon when the games come on us.
With the departure of, specifically Marcus and Jordan, a lot of your rebounds from last year are also gone. And as we discussed, your front line isn't huge, but your backcourt is pretty enormous with everybody 6'5", 6'6", and up.
Yeah.
Are there things that you as coaches can do scheme-wise to help on the rebounds, or is it dependent upon your guards to go close that gap?
I don't think scheme-wise too much. I don't know not too much scheme-wise. I think it's a mentality, and I think that we have to be a gang rebounding team. We don't have as of right now, we don't have the luxury of relying on Jordan's 18 rebounds or whatever he got, or however many. Did he get 20-some one game? 23. That's like 3 games. That's like 3 for most guys. So we don't have that luxury. We have definitely addressed that we have to be a team rebounding team. But you're right. You can look at our strength or our weaknesses. One of our weaknesses, you can say, well, we're not really big up front. Well, we're not. Harry's our only really what you'd call big guy, the only one on the whole team. But at the same time, everybody else is in that middle, and we're pretty athletic. And I'll take that. So it's just, to me, it's more, rebounding's a mentality. It doesn't matter how, it's good to be big, it's good to jump really high, but it's better to really want the ball badly. And if you got 5 guys on the defensive end that are committed to it, and you know, on the offensive end, however many you send to the boards on a given night, if they're really committed, then we should be a good rebounding team. I want to be a great rebounding team. I think it's going to be one of our big keys to the season is how well we rebound it.
Does your fondness for the three-pointer play into that because it creates long rebounds
Absolutely.
that your big guards can go get?
Absolutely. And if we're, you know, not to give away how we play, but let's just say there's a number of guys going to go to the boards, okay, and long shots or long rebounds, and so I would expect that we are taking a good number of threes. We're certainly playing for them, and hopefully we're chasing a lot of those balls down. They're easier to chase down than ones that don't bounce as far. So I really, as of right now, I don't think we should have an excuse not to be a great rebounding team. And I may eat those words, and I see that we are filming this, so you'll probably play it for me. But that's our intention right now in October. I can tell you for sure.
Anything else, guys? Good. All right.
That's great.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
Thank you, guys.